Fleetwood Town supporter Dave Walsh is with us as well. We'll start with you, Michael, if that's okay, and just ask your thoughts on the start that the Shrimps have made. Does it feel a little bit better now you're through in the Cup?
Oh, absolutely, Andy. Absolutely. It's a massive weight off our shoulders, really. And we beat Rotherham in the Cup before, so it's pretty much we've been going from strength to strength and getting new and old signings in the club. Derek's got his men, he's got who he wants, and hopefully we've got a couple more on the way. Because we let two go today. Well, I'm guessing it wasn't today, but it's been announced today. We've let Connor Pye go to Sunderland, and Wes McDonald's just gone to Hartlepool. So hopefully, with the money that we free up from that, we can hopefully get some deals in and get some new players in, which will help us even more.
Yeah, well, Derek Adams has always been pretty clear that he needs that to happen to get his players in, doesn't he? I mean, he was only away from the club a matter of a few months, but the whole team changed, didn't it, under the previous manager?
Yeah, it pretty much did. Robbo, I've got nothing against him. He brought in who he thought could do the job, and to be fair, he did do the job. It kept us up, but it was by the skin of our teeth. He brought the people in who he thought could do the job, and he sort of did, but sort of didn't prove that. And obviously, Derek wasn't a fan of some of them, which is fair enough. At the end of the day, he's a football manager. He's not gonna rate everyone in that team, but Derek's got his men who he wants, and he's gonna get even more, hopefully. With the rumours of Carlos Mendes Gomez going out on loan, that's quite a big one. For the topic of both of us, for Morecambe and Fleetwood, because there's rumours of him going to Fleetwood. But I wouldn't mind Derek sticking his nose in there and potentially getting getting a loan deal in for Morecambe. But
scored a great goal, didn't he, in the week?
He did. It was an absolute belter. He scored for Luton the other week. It was absolutely unreal.
Yeah,
I remember watching that. It was a clip that was posted on Twitter afterwards. I think Luton put it out themselves. It was a fantastic strike, and obviously that's what we need in League One.
Michael, just tell us before we bring Dave in that what do you make of the news about Cole Stockton this week? He's been rumoured and linked with clubs all summer, talk of a new contract, and Fleetwood Town's name has now been mentioned. Is that because they're playing this weekend, or do you think there's going to be more to it?
I'm not sure, Andy, but you used the word there, which is rumours, because that's all it really is at the minute. It was rumours he was going to Fleetwood, he was rumours that he was going to Rotherham, and that never materialised, particularly. I think, from what I see, Cole is very, very happy where he's at. Apparently, he's been in training today. He's happy. I can't really see him going anywhere. I think Morecambe's a place for him, because why would he go? Why would he go? He's happy. Well, I remember one fan asked him at Stalybridge Celtic pre-season game. He was just like, "Well, what are you doing, Cole? Are you signing a new contract?" He was like, "Well, I don't need to sign a contract. I've got until the end of the season, and I'm happy." So I think that actions speak louder than words, really. And Cole, like, his mindset hasn't changed. You can tell he's still giving it his all. Like, his actions speak louder than words for me.
It's a really interesting one. Dave Walsh joins us, who's a Fleetwood Town supporter. Dave, would you quite like Cole Stockton in your squad?
I think it'd be a great addition, to be honest with you. I'm not sure if he'll be a little bit. We don't know how he will manage in the second season. I think he's around 29, 30 now, and he spent a lot of time in the kind of the League Two area and hasn't scored a massive amount of goals. It was only really the last season at Morecambe that he set alight and scored, I think, 25 goals and played a major part in keeping them up. But if we do get him, which I'm certainly hoping so before the end of the window in August, it'll be a fantastic acquisition for us. We've just lost Ellis Harrison, who signed for Port Vale. So we're hoping that leaves a space for Cole Stockton. And if not, as the Morecambe fan mentioned, we've shown similar interest in Carlos Mendes Gomez on loan from Luton as well. So either of those would be good, but Stockton obviously would be great, not just for us, but I think it would be a knife in the back for Morecambe, really, in their hopes of staying in League One.
And you lost Shaden Morris, haven't you, to Aberdeen as well? So someone who can play in wide areas and show a little trick or two and a bit of pace. So Mendes Gomez could be exactly that sort of player for you. We just heard Hopi say earlier that his team stayed up by the skin of their teeth. Dearie me, Fleetwood Town didn't half stay up by the skin of theirs, didn't it? I'd have to say it was a painful season, wasn't it, last year?
It was painful to watch for a lot of the season, to be honest with you, Andy. I think we won maybe 2 or 3 times away all season. I think once at Rotherham, we went on to win. We did double over them, but I think the others were over Doncaster and Crewe, who got relegated. So it was a long season, certainly away from home, and even our home form was pretty poor. But with the new manager and the new signings we've made, I'm hoping for a much better season this season.
Yeah, Dan Jewell, I think you'll have seen Fleetwood last season. I saw them 3 or 4 times last year. Every time I saw them, there were good points, and I thought they might go on and win this game. And then within 5 minutes, they've self-destructed and conceded 2 or 3.
Yeah, and there was a lot said about a young side and lots of young players and players coming up from the club system and players that have been acquired for the under-23s. But I just think they were fundamentally hamstrung by the mistakes that they made. And ironically, the game against AFC Wimbledon that ultimately proved to be decisive in sending Wimbledon down and basically keeping Fleetwood up came from a horrible AFC Wimbledon mistake. So maybe these things do even themselves out over the course of a season. I am fascinated, though, and I'm wondering, because we spoke to Dave before the start of the season in our League One preview programme, having seen a few games, I'm wondering if you're seeing, Dave, this change in mentality that Scott Brown's talking about. He's been talking about getting a winning mentality into his players and bringing in players who have that mentality that will hopefully rub off on those that have been there a while.
What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I agree. I think the last 2 games against Wigan and Plymouth certainly showed the resolve they have from. They were a goal down against Plymouth and came back to win 2-1. And it wasn't just the win; it was holding on at the end. There were so many times, as Dan mentioned last year, that you get to the last 5 minutes and the goal almost seemed inevitable for the opposition. It was almost waiting for them to score in the last minute or in injury time, whereas we seem to just have that extra resolve to win. And I don't know whether that's a change in manager or a change in personnel. Certainly the likes of Josh Earl that came in has been fantastic. The last 2 games he's played at centre half, and also Sean Rooney at right back's been a really good acquisition as well. So I think it's a mixture of players and a clean slate as well. And I think winning breeds confidence. I think there was so many defeats last season, especially late on, that if we got a lead, it was almost inevitable that we would concede. And the fans felt that, and that kind of bred through to the players, I think, as well.
Yeah, it was a goalless draw between the 2 sides just before Christmas last season, when both of them were about to have a bit of a bleak winter about them. Let's just bring Hopi back into the conversation, who's a Morecambe supporter. Hopi, do you feel more or less confident taking on Fleetwood this year?
I'll be honest, I do sort of feel about the same, really. I feel like we're in a pretty similar situation as we were last time. There weren't really any threat of relegation for either side when we played them last time. There's no threat of that now because it's the start of the season. So it feels like we just need to go there and prove what we're about. Can we keep the momentum going after the Stoke game? That's pretty much what we have to prove tomorrow. I'm hoping that we can prove it.
Yeah, and to win that game on penalties after being down to 10 men for a considerable period as well, it says a lot about the players out there, doesn't it?
It was absolutely fantastic. I just want to mention Connor Ripley. For me, he was a man of the match. He had the game of his life. He pulled out some fantastic saves. He kept us in it, really. He genuinely kept us in it.
He's an interesting character.
He is. He was a divisive character before he came in. Because I have a friend who's a Preston fan, and he wasn't really a fan of him. But he's seen some of the games he's played for Morecambe and was like, oh, why didn't he do that for us? Pretty much.
Yeah, I know where they're coming from. Dan Jewell, you saw him play for half a season at Accrington Stanley before he went to North End on a permanent basis. And you could probably count on maybe one hand, maybe 2, how many games of football he's played since then, because he did get an emergency loan to Salford in the middle of all that. But Connor Ripley's the sort of player that has to be playing, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he's one of those classic examples of a player who had lots and lots of potential and was really highly rated as a young player and had loans and opportunities, but hasn't really kicked on from then and hasn't really met that potential and turned it into week in, week out ability. And I just wonder whether the responsibility of being told you're playing, you're in the team week in, week out, you'll captain the side or you'll certainly be team captain and represent the club in that way, is a bit of man management from Derek Adams. And let's be honest, we know what Derek's all about. He is a man manager amongst many other things, but he's well aware that some players respond to the carrot and some players respond to the stick. And giving that positive reinforcement of you're going to be my goalkeeper, you're going to play, I'm putting faith in you, might just be what Connor Ripley needs. And I'm really interested in the way Morecambe have started and the fact that defensively that seems to be the basis that they're building from. And it's ironic, we were talking about Cole Stockton earlier. I do wonder how long it'll be if Morecambe don't score regularly and Stockton doesn't score regularly, that will become a question mark and that will become an issue, because it seems to be being taken for granted at the moment that defensively, albeit they lost at Peterborough last weekend, but defensively it appears to be taken as a given that they're going to be really solid and really hard to score against.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how this game pans out. What I've really enjoyed about Morecambe's team lineups in the last few games are, and they've not played too many, on the opening day of the season, Morecambe squad numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 11 and 9, all on the team sheet. Only number 14, who was at Nuhua, was in, and Taylor, wearing number 7, was on the bench. Absolutely love that. Almost a 1 to 11 from Derek Adams. Just want to ask you, Dave, Delaney has come back from a loan spell. I think he was at Scunthorpe, wasn't he? He was relegated out of the Football League with them, and now he's in the team under Derek Adams and getting another chance at Morecambe.
That would be for Holpe. Sorry, Andy.
Sorry, you're quite right, Holpe. Sorry, Dave, you're right.
Ryan Delaney, yeah, I like Ryan Delaney. He's been all right. He had a standout game against Shrewsbury at the start of the season with the 0-0 draw. He was a man of the match for that game. He was my man of the match, and he was a man of the match who was chosen by the sponsors. And he deserved it. He put a good shift in. At Peterborough, we did make a few defensive errors, which is understandable because for a championship side, at the end of the day, we'll probably end up going back up. So a 3-0 loss, it really isn't unexpected or out of the blue for us. And Delaney put a shift in then as well. He has been putting a shift in, and he's probably one to look out for in our defence.
Yeah,
with the return of Jacob Badal, it's, I don't know. Is it the end of a road for Delaney in the first team? Well, in the squads for a while. I'm not too sure.
Well, who do you pick tomorrow?
I'd have to give Jacob a run out. The fact that he hasn't played in the squad since the end of last season and he hasn't gelled with a new squad. Well, he's not been with a new squad yet, play in an actual match. I'd have to give Jacob a start and see how he goes on. If we have to bring Delaney on later on, we have to bring him on. Yeah, but we have to give him a run out, really.
And Dave, I promise you, this is a question for you about Fleetwood Town. The games have been close this season so far, haven't they? A 2-1 win, a 2-1 reverse, and a 1-0 win. Do you think this one will be something similar?
It's a derby game. Derby games, I think, are normally close. The last time we played them, when it was sunny around this time of year, we won 4-0 10 years ago. So I'm certainly hoping for a similar scoreline this time. But with it being a derby game, you just don't know. I think it was 0-0 last year at their place, and Cole Stockton scored that wonder goal from the halfway line in injury time to win it at our place. So I think it will be fairly tight. As you say, Morecambe's defence has been fairly solid this season, but so has ours. So that there may not be many goals in it. Maybe 1-0 or 2-1. Do
you remember the goal scorers that day in that 4-0 one?
John Parkin hat-trick and Barry Nicholson.
Oh, good knowledge.
Blast from the past. I think Barry's still with us on the coaching team at the moment with Scott Brown. So it's a bit of a blast from the past there.
Good knowledge. Very good. Pleasure speaking to you both. Hope, Dave, thanks ever so much for being with us. Good luck, both of you, at the game tomorrow. I'll sit firmly on the fence and say draw. But as usual, enjoy the game. I'm sure we'll be trying to get back in touch with you both after the match to see what you made of it. It's BBC Radio Lancashire, 22 minutes to 7.